5 years ago, on November 2nd, 2018, I started a webcomic called Comic Cat. It's about a cat, a dog, and a hamster dealing with the struggles of making a webcomic. The comic has its ups and downs and goes completely off the rails from time to time, but I'm really proud of it. The comic also has a really strange, complicated history dating back to well over a decade before the series officially began. Throughout the years, I've hinted at the behind-the-scenes and ridiculous deep lore of what seems like a simple cat cartoon, but for the 5th anniversary of one of my proudest accomplishments, I'm finally exploring all of it. The earliest incarnations, the Microsoft Paint era, the multiversal war that tied together a decade of ongoing storylines. This is the complete history of Comic Cat. The first thing I ever remember writing as a small baby was this book about evil squish balls. I thought it was so good, and from that moment, I knew I wanted to be a writer. I also really liked Garfield, this funny, sarcastic cat, his loser owner and dumb dog friend. This comic strip inspired me to start drawing. I wanted to make my own cat comic. This is the earliest cat drawing I could find. You'll see this pop up again later. And in 2006, I would create my first comic, called Comic Cat. I drew this cover before even making or thinking of an idea for the first comic. I now proudly present the first ever Comic Cat.
I got you a friend, Comic.
This cannot be good. Nope. Cat.
Hi.
Dog. Wanna trade spots, reflection? No! Doggy door.
Wait!
Stop! Wait for me!
A plane!
And clearly this is where the series peaked. Early Comic Cat was just weirder Garfield. Sarcastic cat who has a love-hate relationship with a dumb dog who causes trouble for his pathetic, complete failure of a human being owner. I'm sorry, John, that was too far. Naming the cat Comic is kinda obvious, but I actually think it fits the character. Same with Dog, whose name is just Dog. Awful name, but it's stuck around for almost 2 decades. And then the owner, Joey. Yeah, he's just John Arbuckle. Once again, Ham is the most obvious hamster name, but whatever, it's fine. A little Hamtaro reference never hurt anyone.
It's Hamtaro time.
Comic and Dog are pretty defined characters, but all of the others are pretty nothing. Ham had a jetpack and didn't really do much. Joey's pretty boring. Taco the Turtle is introduced a little bit later, and honestly, I don't remember if he even has any dialogue in this era. There is some really weird reoccurring characters too. This tree who is definitely not Wispy Woods from Kirby. This giant flower, Ham's best friend, Joe the Squirrel, who lives in a tree outside. A few years later, I renamed Joe Acorn because Joe and Joey were just too close. I don't know why I did that. There was a comic where we briefly see Comic's brother and Dog's dad, who never show up again, but Ham's baby brother, remember him, he'll be back. There's this reoccurring product called Leg Grow that made anyone's legs grow massive. This popped up a lot throughout the series. I don't know why I thought it was the funniest thing in the world, but boy was it. From 2006 to 2008, Comic Cat would be made up of these compilation books of very simple one-page comics. I would take them to school from time to time and everyone would be like, "OMG Tad, you are so funny and cool for making Comic Cat." And then Bianca stole my characters and made Comic Dog. This was the exact same pages, but with the roles reversed, and she was passing it off as her own work. I have to spend my days knowing that Comic Dog might still exist out there somewhere. What if it becomes far more well-known and I'm the ripoff? I need to call my lawyer. And that's pretty much all I have to say for the elementary school era. Was it good? No. Was it funny?
Happy birthday, Comic. E-Comic.
Much better.
Here's a hamster. He broke the wall, wow.
I told you we should have gotten the iguana.
Ah! Wait, that you, Dog?
No.
I see you're the tail.
Just getting ready for Halloween.
There's 11 months till Halloween.
Can't start Toy, really.
What you reading, Comic?
How to eat your owner's fish. Yum.
Comic!
Burp. Haha. How to escape the basement.
Comic!
It's not my fault he left his library card on the sofa.
A helicopter. That's what I want, B-So-Day.
You're a dog, you can't be a helicopter.
That's what you think!
Wake up, Comic. Wake up.
Why is this called Comic Cat? It should be Comic Dog.
You're not in every comic, and Comic isn't even your name.
Dog! Dog!
Hamster.
I want spaghetti.
I want pizza.
Are you crazy?
Yes.
We had pizza last night. You're nuts if you think.
Hey guys, let's have pizza tonight.
Akit Choli, I think you're nuts. For the wrong reasons, but yeah. As I entered middle school though, the series would change drastically. I made the Best of Comic Cat book to celebrate the 3-year anniversary of the series. It was remakes of classic Comic Cat pages, but the spelling mistakes are gone and all around are not as funny. It did introduce Rocky the Goldfish, though. Some kid at school told me to make a character like Perry the Platypus. I never watched this show, but I thought adding spy characters could be cool. They run FISH, which stands for Fish, Iguana, Snail, and Hamster, the main members of their secret organization. This book also introduced Acorn having a car, which was a thing for some reason. This was a big deal, Acorn having a car. This comes back, like, multiple times throughout the series. Him having a car is a huge deal. Remember that. Do not forget Acorn has a car. The remake of the Ham's baby brother comic was so popular amongst the 5 people who were reading this that I decided to bring him back into the main cast. This purple notebook with a bite taken out of it is what got me through the 6th grade. I drew that first page on my first day of school, sitting in the back left of the classroom, ignoring my schoolwork. I got started on the real work. This is where the series really started to find its identity, and went completely bonkers with 1,000 new characters and ongoing storylines. I will now cover the 2009 to 2012 era as quickly as possible. Chewie is Ham's little brother who's less scary now and moves in with the gang. He's the funny random XD character who talks like, "Me eat big banana now, yumma yumma." Yeah, it's really funny, guys. Ham convinces Acorn to join Fish and they both get fired shortly after. Aliens from Pluto are introduced as a reoccurring threat to the world because Comic's new band was so loud and bad that they heard it from Pluto and annoyed them, but then Chewie takes a rocket into space and eats all of them. They're no longer a threat. Taco is now the funny, wacky dude who's super strong and super cool and super handsome. Everyone loves Taco. Meanwhile, Joey is sending Dog to obedience school because he blew up the fridge. It's here that he meets another dog, Wilbert, and Max, the Mohawk slug, who thinks he's a rabbit. Their teacher teaches them the concept of negative letters, like negative numbers, except they are real entities that have been at war with each other since the beginning of time and before the English language was conceived. Snelly the skunk is introduced as an environmental activist and becomes friends with Ham and Acorn, but also everyone hates her because she loves nature and the other characters think that's totally lame. Hairball is introduced as a substitute for the series when Comic is sick and runs it into the ground. Truly Comic Cat's normal. Chewie gets married to a cookie shaped like him and named Chompy. There's a whole storyline with that. Fish is doing a bunch of stuff, fighting King Dolphin, fighting a gang of evil pigs. Agent Penguin is revealed to be a double agent and they get into a big battle with him. They get giant mechs for a bit. Oh, and then Comet Cat is introduced, who looks just like Comic Cat, but has superpowers. Suddenly everyone who was super into Fish and all the cool spy stuff has moved on to being really into superhero stuff. Agent Snail's totally lame family forced them to transfer to Comet's super group, and Spider becomes the new lead Agent S. Max also has to leave too because he's Snail's brother? These are 2 different species, what's happening? Some of the characters form an anti-superhero club because they hate Comet. He's so lame, ooh. Are you exhausted yet? If you are, I'm so sorry, because this is only the first of 3 books from this era. This is a little checkpoint. Take a minute to breathe, grab a snack. Let's watch classic video Eat Some Grapes to rest up for a minute.
Eat some grapes. Eat some grapes. Eating the grapes.
Oh man, that video was awesome. Okay, book 2. So, Ricky the Roman Raccoon joins the cast. He was hit so hard in the Coliseum that he was blasted through time. Some of his friends from the past also show up once and never again. Shortly after, a giant tornado destroys the Comic Cat house. They have to move out, and we get this long, sad farewell to all the other characters. After moving in, they get a package and, "Me is moving in!" And then the rest of the characters just move into their front yard 2 comics after the heartfelt goodbye. This is the point in the series where Chewie becomes so XD random that he takes over the series.
Eat the toxic waste and eat the boat, Chewie!
He just shows up in like every one of these and doesn't do anything other than scream and destroy everything. Why was this everyone's favorite character?
Me is gonna eat Muffin Yum, and me is gonna like it.
Hold up, is that Rocky Among Us? The cast has to move again because Chewie drinks a bunch of toxic waste and completely destroys the house. They move into a flying house and give Chewie his own house to destroy, which he does immediately. It's the 4th of July and Chewie starts blowing everything up. The cast films a movie where Chewie is the main character. He gets a superpowered form called Super Me-Self, which is even more powerful than the first Chewie state. A new antagonistic team of sea monkeys gets the comic cancelled. Oh, this is an interesting direction. I wonder what... Chewie screams and chases them away. Me as president, me wind by landslide. This was no longer Comic Cat. This was the Chewie comic. And it sucked. To be fair, Rocky did get some cool fights with Action Apple. Dog gets a story arc where he battles a security system. Ricky has a battle against this spirit who possesses some of the other characters. That one's pretty cool. There's a story arc where Chewie and Dog fight against Fred, the invisible fire-breathing butterfly. That one's pretty decent. There were a lot more battles in the series than I thought. You could make a legitimate Comic Cat power scaling tier list. Okay, right off the bat, Chewie goes in godlike being. Just, no question, the most powerful character in the series. Rocky is definitely powerful fighter. I'd put Ricky in powerful fighter. See, Comic Cat, like, you would assume that he's very powerful, but we don't really ever see it, so I just put him in decently powerful. There's some good stuff, but so much of the latter half of this era is just Chewie stuff. In this one, he trips, smashes a hole in the earth, and destroys half the planet, and the entire cast has to live underground for a bit. This comic is just Chewie on a rampage destroying everything. I mean, maybe Chewie was just fun to draw? These are not very good comics, but I'm really fond of this era because it was me at my most creative. I was throwing anything and everything at the wall, seeing what kind of stuff I liked making. There's also a bunch of really bad Microsoft Paint Comic Cats from around this time. These were all posted onto my Facebook, but we don't really need to talk about these. Let's move on. I went on to high school and got new notebooks. This era had my least favorite art style throughout the series, but some of the comics were decent. There were fewer one-off comic strips and more long storylines spanning weeks or even months. Chewie still pops up sometimes, but these years really fleshed out the rest of the cast. There was an arc where Comic, this scam artist magician, and his dumb assistant all body swap. Comic's soul gets trapped in this weird dimension with this evil demon guy, and it's just this weird little adventure. There's another where Dog and Ham from an alternate universe seek help from main universe Comic and friends to stop Joey, who is transformed into a giant mechanical dragon that's completely destroyed their world and is going to destroy the rest of the multiverse. In this world, Ham is this emotionless, soulless thing, Comic is a wounded cyborg, Chewie is a massive Godzilla, and worst of all, Dog has glasses. There was a lot of interdimensional stuff. Kimok is an evil version of Comic Cat. Yes, that's just Comic backwards. And Comic teams up with good versions of his usual villains. There were a handful of spin-off series too. Rocky and the rest of Fish had their own comic for a bit. Chewie had a comic where he was trapped on a deserted island. These were characters who were taking over the main comic, so I decided to branch them off. I lived in England at the time of making these, and during our breaks we were forced out into the freezing cold. Drawing Comic Cat kept me distracted enough from the weather to stay alive, so I'm forever grateful for this era. During late high school, I was back in America, and it became more like a regular comic strip. And for the first time in the series' history, it was kind of funny in the intended way. 2016 was an important year. It was the 10th anniversary of me making comics, and the year I was going off to college. It was the end of one chapter of my life and the beginning of the next. And to send off this era of Comic Cat, I did a massive crossover event between it and all of my other comics. That's right, all of those years I was making Comic Cat, I was working on 20 to 30 other comic series the entire time, and this one story would be the finale to all of them. It starts with the cast of The Teddy Adventures, a multi-chaptered action series, recapping the events leading up to this. I don't have 5 hours to catch you up on the Teddy Adventures lore, and besides, most of these characters weren't created by me, they were just featured in the comic. So yeah, this likely will never see the light of day. Except Bob. Bob will return. Tobin arrives and explains to Teddy that he's searching for Galf, one of the big bads from the Teddy comic. Tobin is the protector of the Diamond Kingdom from the comic of the same name, which is like a gateway between every universe, and stopped universes from interfering with or harming each other. Galf was created from evil from multiple universes, so his existence could cause the entire Teddyverse to collapse. Meanwhile, Kor, who is like the heart of the Diamond Kingdom and the thing keeping it alive, is looking into a being called Nebula, who's the main antagonist of another comic, Memories of Mirth. After years of build-up, we finally get his backstory and realize his full plan for the multiverse. While Kor is figuring that stuff out, Tobin and some of the other characters from other stuff are chasing Galf across multiple universes, and we finally get to what's supposed to be the topic of this video. Movie night!
Woo! What are we watching?
What was that?
Probably some weird crossover we weren't invited to. So what movie?
There's this big reveal that Kor the whole time has been destroying some universes to prevent chaos from spreading and leading into more universes being destroyed. Him and Tobin fight, but now Nebula is in the Diamond Kingdom with the baddest guys from every comic. And if a portal is destroyed, it destroys that entire universe and everyone in it. So Tobin has to evacuate every single universe into the Diamond Kingdom in the event of portals being destroyed by the battle. While the worlds are being evacuated, a bunch of characters stay to fight and defend the multiverse against Nebula, Galf, and an army of squishballs from that first book I ever wrote when I was baby. This isn't just a big fanservice-y mess of random characters fighting. I mean, it is a little bit of that. I mean, I say fanservice like there were more than 5 people reading these. This was huge for all 5 people. But anyway, there's somehow a lot of payoff to completely different comics that I had made in the past decade. Long-running series like Nunchuck Woodchuck get a moment to shine. Short-lived series like Lofty that only got like 2 comics get a moment to shine. Froggy and Moon, 2 of my favorite characters, obviously get a lot here. Chewie powers up in his Super Me Self form for the first time in years, and the cast of Comic Cat fight against another alternate universe evil Joey. For a big finale to like 30 different comics that were all started by a little kid, I'd say it's about as good as it could have been. They do stop Nebula, but Tobin, the Guardian of the Kingdom, is mortally wounded. Kor gives up his life to save him, making Tobin the new heart of the kingdom, but between that and the damage caused by Nebula, it forces the entire universe and every world in it to reboot, ending the story that had been told for the past decade. This started as a knockoff Garfield and ended with a big multiversal war that caused a universal reset. Time to kick Odie off the table. And now, I start college. My future as an artist and storyteller can truly begin. It's time for my new journey, and I had an existential crisis and stopped drawing entirely. I hate Mondays. I dropped out of college, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't creating. I didn't know what to do with my life. I was so sure of the direction I wanted to go from the moment I could pick up a crayon. And now, I don't know. I was lost. I had no direction. And then one night, I found a video from a channel called Lasagna Cat, in which a man analyzes the comic strip where Garfield steals John's pipe for an hour in a single take. No cuts, and the way it's edited, perfectly timed with the music, the beautiful background visuals. This video ironically joking that a Garfield comic changed their life, unironically changed mine. I picked up a tablet pen and started drawing Garfield, and another Garfield, and another Garfield. I drew so many Garfields, each one more nightmarish and disgusting than the last, and people seemed to like them. In 2017, I had been posting some Comic Cats online, but aside from family, nobody really saw them. Thanks Tad's family for the support, by the way. But this was the first time people I didn't really know were talking about something I was making. I had been making drawing YouTube videos before the great crash of Tad's brain of 2017. But in January 2018, I decided to make a new YouTube channel. I just wanted a fresh start, I guess.
Hello everyone, it's Tad. I'm bad at intros, I don't know where to start with this.
That was the first video on the Tad I Guess channel. Making videos and Garfield drawings throughout the year helped me regain my confidence, and by November, I was ready to start Comic Cat once again. Finally, after this amount of time's worth of background information and deep lore on stuff I made when I was 7, we can finally talk about the Comic Cat that people know, the modern incarnation of Comic Cat. I'm gonna spoil the entire series, so if you haven't read it, tadiguess.com, you can read all my comics there. That'd be really super cool if you went there and read all my comics. Whoa. Comic Cat is split up across 5 seasons, each with its own story, so let's finally begin Comic Cat Season 1. Hello?
Hello, comic. Would you like to...
Stupid robot calls. First things first, there's 2 versions of Season 1. I remade it a few years later because I started removing these borders around the comic, and some of the later ones are kinda blurry due to drawing tablet issues. Both versions are still available and are basically the same, just don't be confused if I'm switching between drastically different looks. Comic, Dog, and Ham all live together and work on a comic strip called Comic Cat, and we see the many struggles that come with being comic strip characters. Comic and Dog are more or less the same characters they've always been, but Ham, who never really had much personality, now has a ton of anxiety and is usually in distress. This is the best Ham has ever been. A lot of people really liked Ham here, and I agree.
Can I drive to work? I'm tired of walking.
Tad can't draw cars, though.
I don't care. I just don't want to walk for an hour there and back every day.
It's the very meta fourth wall breaky humor. They talk about not being lazy enough to do reruns if they are out of ideas, and Taco carries in an old strip like, "Oh guys, I thought we were doing a rerun." Really funny. But then a few comics later, they do run out of ideas and he actually reruns that one. Another joke I like is that old red drawing of Comic Cat coming back and being an actual character. This PNG of my old drawing is always just there hanging out. Fourth wall breaking jokes are pretty overdone now, but I tried to make them serve the ongoing storyline. Comic is frustrated trying to make a weekly comic strip consistently entertaining, and halfway through the season, he just quits and leaves the strip. A bit later, he's too embarrassed to come back on his own, so he hires Snelly the skunk to pretend to be a comic strip inspector with the power of canceling them, and she forces Comic to come back.
Bland backgrounds.
Can I help you?
Oh, hello. I'm Snelly. I've been assigned to your strip.
What does that mean?
I've been sent by my company to fix up your strip, that's all.
Whoa, what's wrong with our strip?
Last week's joke was just an ad for your website.
That was funny!
I don't know what that thing is, but I want it gone.
It's cool though!
Hey.
You also let your star walk out on you.
She kidnapped me.
Comic!
Some quick changes are in order. Comic, you're not marketable enough.
Excuse me? I hate everything.
Much better. Dog, you could use a redesign too. This will promote creativity in your community.
Wow, look at me.
And then, of course, the climax of the season, Dog enters a bowling tournament. Dog doesn't have fingers, so he can't really throw the bowling ball. It goes towards Snelly. Snelly fakes her death to teach Comic a lesson about friendship. The end. I really like Season 1. It has a completely different feel from the rest of the series, but the simple meta story works pretty well, I think. I really like the changes made to Snelly, who I introduced because there was a demand for a normal-like, but I'll talk more about her in Season 2. The only thing that I would have done differently now is have Comic gone for longer. The 2 strips where it's Dog and Ham trying to run the comic without him are really fun, and I would have liked a longer stretch of that. Honestly, I think it would have been really funny if Comic never came back. He actually just quits, and then Dog and Ham run the comic strip named after him for 5 seasons. Towards the end of this season, a lot of people were making really cool edits and fan comics. These were always so cool to see. A lot of these were edits of that car strip, and so many of these were just really good. One of them actually heavily influenced the series, and this one by the Black Bigfoot, where Dog says reality. The face Comic makes here became an emote in my Discord server, and this image has become the face of the character and franchise. People were just making so much cool stuff based on the comic. There was an Urban Dictionary page, so many cool edits of the different strips, a handful of completely original strips, a bunch of really cool art, and Comic Cat reimagined with humans as a comic for old people.
Book no tweet.
Get a load of this rotund idiot.
Making Season 1 of Comic Cat also made me look forward to Thursdays, the day I always posted a new strip, the day of the week that would forever be known as Comic Cat Thursday. This song's terrible. You like this?
Only ironically, silly.
So, you admit it's bad, but like it as a joke, still supporting the creator? Isn't that kinda silly?
Sounds a lot like your fans.
The season starts off pretty normal. A comic panel comes to life and quits his job. That's pretty normal for this series. We will never know what the original Ravioli strip had in store. I actually had a plan much later, like years later. I was gonna end the series with them finally finishing the ravioli strip, but I forgot what the original joke was gonna be, so I just gave up on that idea. The first chunk of the season further establishes two minor characters from the first. Red, the Comic Cat PNG, gets a lot more to do. We get to see his struggles and desire to become a real cat. I was gonna make this a whole side story, but there was this one really good edit that Duffley made, and this was far better than what I had planned. I love this one. The other greatly expanded character is Snelly, who is possibly my favorite character in the series. Being this manipulative scam artist who still manages to be a really fun and likable character makes her really fun to work with. After a fairly normal start, this season takes a turn. The robot comes back, concerned that it's Comic Cat Thursday and there's no new strip out. He goes into their house and sees that it's been destroyed. And it's also revealed he's on the phone with the runaway comic panel, who's now a detective with a wife and child. Huh? And then we get some strips with Ham and Comic watching TV, and something seems off to them. Also, we see Taco try to return home, but it's a crime scene now? I was setting up this big mystery, but I think it just confused most people. It could have been done better for sure. Anyway, Comic tries to get Ham outside, and they see their home isn't actually their home. After the robot shows the previous strips to Detective Panel, they figure out where Comic Cat and friends are. It's revealed that the organization Fish has kidnapped them to open a portal to the Diamond Kingdom. The portal opens through humor, which Comic Cat characters lack, but are irrelevant enough to not be noticed as missing. Dog shows the portal a funny rat and opens it up. Rocky then explains some of the lore of how the Diamond Kingdom works, explains the universal reset after the multiversal war. Since the reset wasn't perfectly done due to the circumstances, some people weren't properly rebooted into the new universes and were frozen in time, trapped at the bottom of the Diamond Kingdom. Fish is trying to rescue one of their agents who fell during the war, and we learn that Ham's brother, Chewie, is also among those trapped. Detective Panel and Robot show up in a tank to rescue them, injuring Fish in the process. And now the Comic Cat crew have to take their place to head into the kingdom to save their friends. Red stays behind because it was hard for such a static character to go on this adventure. Sorry, Red. There has always been one rule for everything I have ever created. Everything is canon. So as they travel through the portal, as Doug reads the past few strips to try and comprehend the absurd storyline, they see flashes of their lives from the old timeline, being the literal original Comic Cat pages I drew in 2006.
So this is the old timeline.
We look terrible.
Guys, this is my...
Guys, come look at this weird looking guy.
This terrifying creature was in our friend group? Strange. Who is this loser? At least we don't know him now. Seems like a weird dude.
Looks like his name's Joey.
Hey, that's my name too.
Anyway, we should keep moving.
Yeah, we're short on time and all.
Season 2's story way super ultra deluxe jumps the shark, but I thought it would be fun to tell a complicated epic adventure through a weekly comic strip. The middle chunk of the season suffers a lot from long exposition and some confusing stuff. This chunk definitely drags on a bit, and I could have handled those better. But for me, it was still worth it. The characters reading their comic pages talking about how bad the art was, leading up to the reveal that the robot character is actually this rebooted universe's version of Joey, the owner from the original strips. This is the kind of thing I could only tell through Comic Cat, and this is why I had so much fun working on this particular series. You can only free people from their frozen state by replacing them with someone else, so Fish grabs some horrible criminals they've captured to take with them, which is super immoral, but this is Fish. They enter the Diamond Kingdom and encounter these big monsters. The gang splits up, Comic Ham and Joey take the evil pig guy to go save Chewie. The evil pig betrays them and escapes into the multiverse. Joey sacrifices himself so that Comic Cat Thursdays may continue, and they rescue Chewie. For the first time in the series, we see the sad little robot smile. Season 2 had some really cool stuff, definitely could have been made easier to follow along, and towards the end of the season, I was really beating myself up over this season's quality. But over the years, I've come to appreciate it a lot more. We really need to up our game and turn our strip into a clever, quality...
Look! Outside!
Did a rubber chicken just sprint past?
It's our new running gag.
I decided to follow up the most wild and out there season with the most grounded and normal. The second strip, Sudden Change, has Comic find out that Red is moving out to live with his new husband, Dog is leaving for college soon, Ham has a new girlfriend, and Taco the Turtle was just arrested. After Season 2 got lost in a lot of complicated plot stuff, I wanted Season 3 to really focus on Comic's character, his dealing with a lot of sudden change, and his relationship with Dog. Comic and Dog were the two leads in the original, best friends, but in the reboot era, it didn't show a whole lot of that friendship, so I wanted to focus on it here. I like Red a lot, but he's not the most posable character. He hadn't done anything in ages, and I was out of ideas for him, so I wanted to give him a happy send-off, marrying the camel drawing from that same paper. While everyone is moving on and dealing with their own stuff, Comic befriends Ricky the raccoon, who is not a time traveler anymore and is just a guy eating from their trash. Ricky's just a wacky dude, and I think this season benefits a lot from having him around. As Comic and his usual friends move further apart, we see him relying on Ricky's company more and more. We get to see some of the supporting cast living out their own lives too. Chewie, now less destructive and LOL random, goes to school. We see Dog preparing for college, making a new friend, and meeting generic one-time extra, who ceases to exist after the strip ends. I get a lot of requests to bring this character back, but that would ruin the joke. They will never come back, sorry. Fish does come back though, this time being a lot more goofy and tonally in line with the other characters. There's this storyline in the middle where Rocky makes a clone of his daughter's favorite Comic Cat character for her, thinking it's Comic, but she ends up disappointed that it's not Joey. I actually ran a poll to see who the most popular character was, and Joey won by a landslide. Seeking a new purpose and having escaped Fish, the clone goes into Snelly's store looking for a disguise, going by Comet now. Yeah, instead of being a superhero, he's just a clone of Comic, though Snelly thinks it's just Comic going through a midlife crisis. Also, Acorn the Squirrel makes an appearance and buys Leg Grow. Yes, Leg Grow is back, people. There's a lot of really old recontextualized stuff in this season. Super Meself even comes back, though it's just Chewie's Halloween costume now. But the main focus of the season is Comic trying to stop Dog from going off to college at all costs, leading to the story's climax.
Joey? I thought you were trapped in some weird space world? I don't remember, I didn't really read season 2.
I paid those fish guys to get him out. I couldn't go another day without seeing this guy.
Haha, cool, I am friends with Comic Cat now.
It must have been expensive. Where'd you get the money?
Your college savings.
My what?!
Oh no, I guess you can't leave for college now. Oh no! Is it my turn? How do you play poker anyway?
Go Fish.
Earlier in the season, there were some lookalikes of the cast that moved next door, and now Comic kidnaps them and tries making them replace his friends. He gets arrested and gets a good pep talk about friendship from Taco, who's been chilling in prison this entire season. After getting out, Comic makes Dog's college money back by selling out and making old people comic strips.
Dumb, stupid, idiot millennial. This is library full of books.
What is books? Are we inside Google, father?
Dog leaves for college and the two depart on good terms. This is maybe the most fun I had making Comic Cat and is probably the peak of the series. All the characters get a good moment, the quality's really consistent, probably the best art of the series, and it introduced Running Gag, this sprinting rubber chicken who just appears in the background of random strips. So here's a question. How do you follow up what you consider to be your best work? How do you get better than what you consider to be the perfect execution of your idea?
What's going on?
He won't leave his room.
Comic?
Every season's first strip has a silent last panel. All except this season.
So?
Something feels wrong. This season is off. A lot of the old cast is gone, replaced with new stand-ins. The strips are okay, but don't feel like Comic Cat. This could be any comic strip.
I think you're...
We're told to care about the new cast as much as the old, but can we? It all feels slightly wrong, like we peaked and are clinging on. What if we went on too long, Ham? What if the magic's gone? More importantly, where has the Running Gag been? He hasn't run by in months.
You can't keep running from your problems, Mr. Running Gag. Yeah, I'm fast.
Season 4 is weird. Dog is gone, Snelly's gone, Red's gone, Taco's gone, Fish is gone. So many of the characters that made this series have all gone their separate ways. How can this series continue with just scraps? Comic is asking the same question throughout the season. Typo was introduced as the new friend character who is automatically friends with everyone because the series needed fill-in characters, even though they don't really contribute much to being there. A lot of the strips are okay, some are just kinda bad. I didn't really know what to do with this season, and I thought it would be interesting for the character to have that same mindset. It's pretty directionless until they they find a genie lamp. They wish for unlimited wishes, but that's against the rules, so they wish it wasn't. Ricky wishes for a pot pie, which is actually a reference to my most recent YouTube video at the time. I don't think anyone picked up on this. Alright, here we go. Wait, what day? Oh my god, it's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Comic Cat Thursday. I didn't make this week's strip yet. Oh man, okay. Oh, I don't even know what I'm doing for tomorrow's Comic Cat strip. Okay, what are jokes? What are jokes? Pot pie. With unlimited magic, Comic takes drastic measures. The next strip is just filled with things that people liked. Reality Face, Comic Cat Card, Joey, Bowling Ball, Self-Promotion Robot, Red, Running Gag, Leg Grow. It ends with Comic erasing Typo, the useless fill-in extra character from the strip. This strip is filled with what Comic thinks will make the strip relevant again. Fan service and shock value. And it worked. This was the most attention any strip of Season 4 received. And then there's just a filler strip with Hairball laughing about how it's a filler strip and you have to wait another week to find out what happens. The thing about fan service and shock value is that they don't make something good on their own. They bring temporary attention, but if there's no substance, it won't last. This season is the worst of Comic Cat. There's a couple good strips, but there's also a handful of stinkers. I figured going in that it probably wouldn't turn out great, but it also felt like a lesson that the character needed to learn, if that makes sense. So in that regard, I'm still glad I made these bad comics.
You can't script your life, Comic. Sometimes endings are just disappointing. Yo, is that the running gag?
How's it going, man?
Great! I turned my life around and finally graduated from law school. You know, I'll probably need a lawyer here soon. Give my firm a call. I gotta run now. I have a case in 5 minutes on the other side of the country.
For this one, I'm not going to be talking about things like strip by strip in order. This one, I'm going to have to jump around a lot and talk about things from the beginning and end all at the same time, so for real, spoiler warning, go read the whole season before I spoil the entire thing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ham dies. That's a joke, Ham's fine. Until season 7. Comic and Ricky decide to get the old gang back together as a late wedding gift for Ham, and they go to the one guy they know has a car. Do you remember who has a car? I told you earlier to remember this character has a car. From the beginning, this series always made a big deal out of him owning a car. I still don't get it, but for a season that's essentially one big road trip to retrieve all the old cast members, Acorn's presence was a must. Since this is the big farewell season, I want to talk about each of the characters individually, because everyone really gets a couple moments to shine. After season 1, Red was always pretty underutilized. There were some good jokes with the concept, but I ran out of ideas pretty quick. But after a few seasons where he was completely absent, I had tons of ideas again. Red is wanting to adopt a child, so he's looking at other old drawings. In the hotel, he just folds himself over and fits in the drawer. His house's wallpaper is the original paper that he was drawn on. From a character who spawned from a single joke, I got a lot of use out of him. And the same could be said for Running Gag. He would just run around in the background in Season 3, went missing in Season 4 while in therapy, and in Season 5 went to law school and turned his life around. I love it when minor extras end up being really important to the story. No, I'm not bringing that one back, leave me alone. This season certifies Snelly as my favorite. She's consistently there just to cause problems, but always manages to be lovable. At least for me. Maybe you hate this character, maybe you want to put her in a box and ship her to Abu Dhabi, I don't know you. I liked her friendship with Comic's clone, but I really love her friendship with Comic. Easily my favorite dynamic to work with in this series. She's just a cynical nuisance, but tries to be a good friend when it's called for. One of my favorite strips in the season is when Comic and Snelly are talking about their history, and how her character has been used throughout different points in the series. And I like that she saves the day using leg grow. People always debated if this was something you consumed or something you rub onto your legs. Since 2006, it was always a spray in my mind. I never even considered other options, but everyone else seemed to be surprised by it. Another dynamic I thought weirdly worked was Joey and Typo. Oh, yeah, Typo got alived again at the end of Season 4. They were both outcasts of the series. Joey, the #1 Comic Cat fan who wanted nothing more than to be friends with them, and Typo, who was written out of the story for being so disliked. They seemed like a good duo.
Hello?
Joey, these are dangerous criminals on the run. We believe you know their whereabouts.
Comic? I'll have you know I am the biggest weekly comic strip Comic Cat fan in the world. I will never sell them out. Now get out.
That was so brave.
I sure gave him the what for.
No, I meant calling yourself a Comic Cat fan.
Oh, we have to warn Comic that those guys are after them.
I'll call him.
Who's calling you?
Don't know the number. Probably nothing.
Didn't answer.
I'll call. Me and Comic are very close friends. We go way back.
Another call?
I have it marked as spam, probably one of those automated robot calls. At the end, Joey is offered Comet, finally his very own Comic Cat best friend. But Joey's moved on and finally made a friend on his own. He's moved past his parasocial relationship with a cartoon cat. Taco gets busted out of jail, Rocky has some fun moments, Ham gets a happy ending, and Frank the Cactus gets the star treatment that the character always deserved.
This is amazing, Comic. You really got the whole cast together. Although, I don't remember a few of these.
What? You don't recall good old Frank the Cactus? Dog's bowling? He doesn't have hands. Look at classic me, that is so wacky. Man, that 789 movie looked good. I can't believe Comic is using genie magic to rewrite reality, wow.
Come on, Ham, you really don't remember Frank?
You do?
I've been here since the beginning.
Frank is a beloved character. Show some respect.
The whole season leads up to Comic and Dog's reunion. After some fun banter, they talk and realize they've gone their separate ways and have become very different people. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're on good terms, but it finally hits Comic that they've taken separate paths in life. We've become very different people, huh, Dog?
Yeah, we'll always be friends even if we don't hang out all the time. I'll keep in touch better.
Hey, do you remember that old timeline we saw?
Whoa, Season 2 reference!
It's grown on me.
Yeah, I remember. Oh man, the first time we met in that timeline.
I got you a friend, Comic.
This cannot be good. Nope. Cat.
Hi!
Dog. Wanna trade spots, Reflection? No! Doggy door.
Wait!
Stop! Wait for me!
A plane!
And that, more or less, is the entire history of Comic Cat. That was a lot. But what now? Is it done? Is that it? I have so many creative endeavors I want to pursue. I want to tell new stories with new characters, whether that be in different comic series or even other mediums. I'm ready to try weird new things. I'm sure I'll make more Comic Cat someday. I've had other story ideas. There's infinite possibilities for this comic and these characters, but I'm in no rush to bring them back yet. I have been working on Timeline Zero, a prequel series. Inspired by the final strip, these are remakes of the other old Comic Cat pages and a few other old comics. I want my entire pool of work archived on my website, even all this ancient stuff. These remakes just help to make them a little more legible, though I do keep any and all spelling errors, that's just part of the charm. At its highest highs and lowest lows, this has been the most fun project I've ever worked on. Thank you to all my friends who read these as they were coming out, for making all the incredible meme edits. Thank you to anyone just catching up on the series after it ended. And thank you to everyone who watched this video talking about the ridiculously overcomplicated lore of a comic strip that I started while I was bored in school. It really means a lot that anyone would make it this far into a video like this. Happy Comic Cat Thursday.
Got this. We are celebrating another birthday bash.
Comic Cat.
It's your birthday today. Take an ice cream, it's on its way. And
Comic Cat.
you're such a good boy this year. Open up your gifts, well,